Okay.
Presenting a case of 40-year-old male, Mr. XIZ, who is a farmer by occupation residing in Mangalore, came, came with the, sir,
Yeah, continue.
came with the chief complaints of yellowish discoloration of the eyes since 10 days, fever since 8 days, abdominal pain with distension since 8 days, blackish discoloration of stools since 7 days. History of presenting illness. Patient was apparently well 10 days back when he noticed yellowish discoloration of the eyes, which was insidious in onset, non-progressive, with no aggravating and relieving factors, and associated with yellowish discoloration of urine. Following this, he also developed low-grade fever, which was insidious in onset, intermittent, non-progressive, present throughout the day with no diurnal variation. No aggravating and relieving factors, and not associated with chills, rigor, night sweats. He also complains of abdominal distension, which was insidious in onset, gradually progressive to the present size, associated with diffuse dull aching type of abdominal pain, which is constant and present throughout, not associated with any pedal edema or puffiness of face. Over the past 1 week, he has also noticed blackish discoloration of stools, which is foul smelling and has no blood or mucus. He also feels restless, irritated, and has noticed that he is unable to sleep at night. He also complains of loss of appetite. He complains of discomfort over the right upper part of abdomen. No history of loss of weight, no history of bruising, no history of bleeding gum, no history of blood transfusion, no history of hematemesis, no history of bony tenderness. Past history, no history of diabetes, hypertension, tuberculosis, asthma. He has been hospitalized on 2 or 3 occasions for jaundice over the past 3 years and has been prescribed medications for the same. No details are mentioned about the medication. No histories of any surgery in the past. Personal history, diet mixed, appetite reduced, sleep disturbed, bowel bladder movements regular, alcohol consumption.
Hello.
Sir,
Yeah, continue.
alcohol consumption 180
Hello.
180 ml of whiskey per day for the last 15 years. So quantity of alcohol consumed is 7.2 units per day. No history of smoking. Family history, nothing significant. Summary,
Okay,
40-year-old
1 minute.
male.
Can you
Yes,
hold
sir.
on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here is a patient. What is the age? 40?
40 years.
Yeah, 40-year-old patient presented with yellowish discoloration of the skin and mucous membrane of 10 days duration. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And fever of 8 days duration.
Yes, sir.
And abdominal pain or distension.
Abdominal pain with distension, sir.
Okay, 10 days. And then blackish color. So if you take one by one, so somebody who presents with yellowish discoloration of the sclera and fever
Yes,
of
sir.
8 to 10 days duration, what are
Yes.
the possibilities you are thinking? If you think of individually these symptoms,
Yes, sir.
suppose a
You
patient comes to you with a yellowish discoloration sclera and fever of 1 week duration, what are the possibilities you think in this patient?
you can think about jaundice, sir.
And that's what. Okay, jaundice with fever. What are the differential diagnoses?
Um
Forget about all other history. In general, I am asking, what are the differential
hepatitis,
diagnoses?
viral hepatitis, sir.
Huh?
Viral hepatitis.
Okay, viral hepatitis, one differential diagnosis. Then,
Um it can be any alcohol-related liver disease.
why should there be a fever for that?
Um, leptospirosis,
Okay, leptospirosis. Okay, second diagnosis,
malaria,
malaria. Yes.
dengue.
Okay, usually jaundice is not a very typical feature of dengue, but okay, dengue fever they can have.
Okay.
Then,
Then
some,
septic yellow.
bacterial peritonitis. Okay, subacute
Yeah.
peritonitis. Usually they will have abdominal pain. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so here we
Spontaneous.
have yellowish discoloration of eye and fever. Okay, so
Yes.
these are the differential diagnoses you should keep. Natural history of viral hepatitis doesn't come in this way. What is the natural history of viral hepatitis A?
Viral Viral hepatitis A. Mm.
Hello. What is the natural history of viral hepatitis A? They will have prodromal phase. Initially, they will have fever, body ache, vomiting, and diarrhea or upper respiratory
itching,
symptoms may be there. Yeah, to start with.
abdominal pain.
Jaundice is not a feature in the beginning.
Yes.
Always they will have upper this loose motions, fever, okay, loss of appetite, vomiting is one of the predominant symptoms. Yeah. After about 3 to 5 days, these symptoms subside, then the jaundice appears, and once the jaundice start going up, the other symptoms will subside except the vomiting and loss of appetite, and tiredness will be there. And this will go on for about 3 to 4 weeks, and then it subsides. That is a natural history of a viral hepatitis A, which is not a feature what you have in this patient. Is it not?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Then you have a fever. You said leptospirosis possible. Leptospirosis is possible in this patient. Yellowish discoloration fever. Though there is a usually starts with a fever. Here it started with yellowish discoloration. That means so very unlikely, but they can present like this fever and yellowish. But more important symptoms in leptospirosis is what?
It is
breakbone fever. Severe pain, body, this bony
joints
and myalgias are very important features of leptospirosis, along with the yellowish discoloration and the fever they will have. Okay, abdomen, but these patients will not have abdominal pain or distension in the beginning. They can have at the later stage. Okay, then that is one of the differential diagnosis you keep at the beginning. Here you have a patient with yellowish discoloration of the eye and fever. Hello. Hello. Yeah. ಹೇಳಿ ಬೇಗ. ಒಂದು ಗಂಟೆ ಬನ್ನಿ ಕ್ಲಿನಿಕ್ಗೆ. ಆಯ್ತು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬನ್ನಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಕಾಲೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬನ್ನಿ. So yellowish discoloration and fever, abdominal pain and distension. So what are the cause for abdominal pain and distension in this patient? You thought?
Abdominal pain it can be because fluid accumulation.
Okay, as somebody has suggested here, it could be a peritonitis, SBP, bacterial subacute bacterial peritonitis is one of the possibility you have to think in this patient. Then other one symptoms what you have here is a blackish discoloration of the stools. Okay, what is this?
It is if there is any bleeding in the esophageal varices or upper GIT, upper GI. So there will be blackish discoloration of stools.
It causes what? How do you define melena?
Melena. It causes melena.
How do you define melena?
Melena, it is a black tarry tools which occurs as a result.
Tarry, sticky, foul-smelling stool.
Foul smell. Yes.
Black, tarry, sticky, foul-smelling stool. That is the typical melena. What you call it as a typical melena. Black, tarry, sticky, foul-smelling stool.
Yes.
Which of course not every time they will not have this. Sometimes they can have a semi-solid or it may not be a very sticky or anything. Black motion also they can pass. So somebody has got a black stool, which is probably it's a melena. What could be the cause?
It could be because of upper gastrointestinal bleed.
Bleed, okay. It could be because of upper gastrointestinal bleed is one of the reason. It can develop. Okay, so all these things happen for about 10 days, 7 days. Then, so first you always discuss about these symptoms and say these are all. So which organ is involved according to you?
It's the liver, sir.
Probably liver disease.
Probably.
Liver disease. Is there any past history suggestive of liver disease in this patient?
Yes, sir. Jaundice.
No, history, past history.
History.
Past history you have written.
2-3 occasions he's been hospitalized for.
Okay, so he had a recurrent admissions, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Recurrent consultation with the doctor for his similar complaints. So probably this is a chronic liver disease. It's not an
Yes.
acute liver disease. Probably it is a chronic liver
Chronic
disease.
liver disease.
Yes, because he had a similar problem in the last 2 to 3 years. If that
Yes,
history
sir.
is not there, you can think of a acute liver disease. But since there is a history of episodes of these symptoms in the past, probably it could be a chronic liver disease. In chronic liver disease, what could be the etiology in this patient?
Alcohol consumption.
What are the different ways alcohol can affect the liver? Or alcoholic liver disease, what are the 3 different clinical stage you have? Yes. What are the 3 types of alcoholic liver diseases? Yes, somebody else can answer.
Cirrhosis.
So the 3 stages would be fatty liver, the first one, alcoholic hepatitis, the second one, and cirrhosis is the last.
Yes,
last stage.
yes, correct. So usually they will have fatty liver, alcoholic hepatitis, and cirrhosis. These are all the 3 different stages of alcohol liver disease. One thing you should remember is liver is the biggest organ we have in our body. This is not like how they have stage first fatty liver, then hepatitis, then cirrhosis. Simultaneously, all 3 things can happen in the liver. One area there will be a fatty changes. One area already the hepatic changes are there. Some area of the liver already gone into cirrhotic stage. It is not that one after the another. But of course, it takes about 3 to 5 years to develop a full-fledged cirrhosis. But usually they can have all these 3 changes can happen in a liver simultaneously. So these are the different ways. You said alcoholic liver disease. In this, probably cirrhosis of liver is the one you are thinking. Is it not?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what are the non-alcoholic causes? Suppose this alcohol history is not there in this patient. What other things you would like to think? Otherwise, what are the other non-alcoholic causes for the chronic liver diseases? Yes. NASH. Okay. So NASH is the one. Okay. Then yes, correct. Wilson's disease, one of the important disease which can run in family. Wilson's disease, that is another important thing. Then third one is hemochromatosis. Okay, somebody is putting the answers here. Hemochromatosis is a very important one of the, though it is rare, we don't see, but you have to always keep consider all these things in these patients. Hemochromatosis is another third one. Then any other disease you would like to think in this patient? Common one, what we come across, non-alcoholic. Yes.
Cancer.
That cancer? No, before that.
Hepatitis B, sir.
Yes, hepatitis B. Okay, one of the very important and a common disease which can lead on to chronic liver disease, hepatitis B. So anyway, you have taken some past history suggestive of you have written certain things, blood transfusions, all those things which you have written somewhere. Is it?
Yes.
Not? So what are the things you would like to ask if you are suspecting hepatitis B? Yes. History wise.
Blood transfusions, sir.
Okay, recurrent blood transfusions,
Any
needle prick
reason,
injuries.
any recent tattooing or anything.
Okay, needle prick injuries, recent tattooing, blood transfusions. These are the some of the important things you should ask in these patients. Blood transfusion is a very important history, recent past or in the past history wise. And these are the some of the important. So you have to ask history wise all these things. So patient gives a history of alcohol here. You should always ask the other causes for chronic liver disease. Then what else you would like to ask in this patient now? Yes.
Ask if
drug abuse, sir.
Okay, drug abuse. Drug, of course, that is the one more important comes in the history of hepatitis B. Drug abuse or multiple sexual partners and IV drug abuse, all these things. These are all the history you take to hepatitis B. Then Wilson's disease, what is the important history you will get? Wilson's disease. Yes. Family history. Family history, yeah. There are 2-3
Genetic.
people in the family will be suffering cirrhosis of liver. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That is a very important history you should ask. Okay. So these are the history-wise. You would first always ask about the history-wise causes for all these chronic liver disease. Now you
Yes.
have to ask about the history suggestive of a complication of the chronic liver disease. How do you ask the history complication of the chronic liver disease in the past? One complication you already told in your history. What is that? What is that? Presenting complaint. One of the complication of cirrhosis of liver.
Abdominal distension.
Not that. You said the melena, no?
Yes, sir. Melena.
Okay. Okay. So that means there is a possibility of a portal hypertension. Okay.
Yes.
What are the history-wise portal hypertension? History-wise.
Cirrhosis of liver, and there might be clotting.
There might be.
Thrombosis might also be a cause, sir. GI bleeding.
Okay, so upper GI bleed, one thing. Abdominal distension itself says that there may be an ascites, which is another
Yes.
feature of portal hypertension. Upper GI is one of the important history of portal hypertension. And
it can be
other complications.
any portal vein, stenosis of portal vein.
Okay, they're all history-wise difficult to get all this history. Suppose if he goes into hepatorenal syndrome, what history will be there? One of the complication of cirrhosis of liver is hepatorenal syndrome. What history will be there?
Hepatorenal syndrome.
What is the history? Anybody
Liver,
else can
severe
answer?
liver.
Oliguria. Somebody has written oliguria, anuria. Okay, they will have decreased urine output. Okay, suddenly patient who has a cirrhotic of liver goes into sudden decrease in the urine output. Okay, decreased urination. So that is one of the early sign of hepatorenal syndrome. And any other complication you would like to ask? Yes. Any intracranial complication?
Encephalopathy, sir.
What history wise you will get that? You are written somewhere there. Altered sleep pattern.
Yes.
Altered sleep pattern. Okay, they'll sleep in the daytime, nighttime they will be roaming around. The typical of early hepatic encephalopathy. Earliest sign of hepatic encephalopathy is altered sleep pattern. Okay.
Yes.
So that is the one thing. Then.
So being drowsy, sir.
Confusion.
Yeah.
Disorientation.
Yeah, disorientation, hallucinations, delusions, irritability. You have written already there. Irritability,
yes,
hallucination.
Reduced consciousness.
Yes. Stuporous stage. There are all different stages they can go into. Sometimes patient may first time they may come to the hospital with all these complications. They may not have gone to any other hospital, any other places. So, and these are the some of the history wise. We should try to analyze whether first about the etiology of the disease what you are dealing with. Then complications of that etiology, whether patient is already into any complication of those things. This is how you analyze the history level. Okay.
Yes.
Then, so at the end of history, what do you think this patient has? Probably
alcoholic liver disease.
Probably this patient has got alcoholic liver disease. Probably etiology.
It can be.
It may be a chronic liver disease. Probably cirrhosis.
Cirrhosis.
Okay. Probably yes. Cirrhosis of liver. You have to tell why I am telling probably, because ideally you have to diagnose of cirrhosis is a pathological diagnosis. Is it not? Cirrhosis is not a clinical diagnosis. Of course, nowadays with ultrasound and other mode of investigation, you can diagnose the cirrhosis, but ideally it has to be biopsied and then only confirm the cirrhosis. You can tell as a chronic liver disease, probably cirrhosis of liver with portal hypertension. Why portal hypertension? He has upper GI bleeding symptoms are there. He has abdominal distension. Probably there may be an portal hypertension. Okay, upper GI bleed, and there may be a pre-hepatic. He has some irritability, all those history you have written there. So there may be a pre-hepatic symptoms are there. Is it not?
Yes.
So this is the history-wise you would like to analyze in this fashion. Anything else? History-wise?
No, sir.
So he has any other comorbid diseases?
No, sir.
He is not having comorbid diseases. So this how you analyze a patient with a fever, jaundice, abdominal distension, and yellowish discoloration. Anyway, it's a very straightforward patient. So you should all, even though you have a straightforward patient, history-wise you have to write all those things. Okay. Etiology-wise you should ask all the history. Complication of the present disease you should ask. So this, and what are the treatment options? What are the treatment he has received in the last 2 years?
That
You
nothing
got
is.
any details on treatment of this patient?
No, sir.
No. What treatment you thought this patient might have received? Few drugs, can you name something which he maybe had?
Jaundice, you will, like diet wise, you will ask them to improve the diet, sir. NaCIDs you will give, sir. Then, and you will ask them to change their diet, sir, like high fiber foods.
Okay, high carbohydrate diet. Okay.
Yes, sir.
This patient will have high carbohydrate diet is a very important, and ideally, if we'll talk this little later, high carbohydrate diet and proteins. You want to give animal protein, biryani or chicken kebab to this patient?
No, sir. Oily, no, sir. So it
Why?
might oily fatty liver, sir.
Not because of oil. These proteins are very dangerous. Oral proteins, especially animal proteins. It is dangerous. What is the way you avoid these oral proteins? These patients and to avoid animal proteins. Ideally, we should give intravenous protein infusions. These patients orally protein should be avoided because of what is the mechanism of hepatic encephalopathy. Yes, somebody else? What is the mechanism of hepatic encephalopathy? Hypoproteinemia, increase ammonia level. Yes, correct. What happens if ammonia level is increased? You are worried about increased ammonia level. Yes. These are some of the toxins, hepatotoxins. Normally, all these ammonia, mercaptan, all these things are get metabolized or toxic. They are all get toxic metabolized in the liver normally. Here, what has happened? Liver is totally damaged. There is something called patient has gone into encephalopathy, hepatic with portal hypertension. So directly it will go to systemic circulation bypassing the liver. So when it bypasses the liver, it goes to systemic circulation. So what these ammonia and all get, we have to, it has to, because of pH is low in the colon, this ammonia, you should try to remove these ammonia by giving certain drugs like disaccharide, lactulose. You give lactulose or a disaccharide, which causes decreases the pH and make sure that ammonia will not get absorbed from the intestine, and it will get it will go through the motion, so that the ammonia will not get absorbed. That is one of the important drugs you give. Lactulose is one of the drugs you give in these patients. Anyway, that we'll discuss little later.
Yes.
Examination.
Sir, just a minute, sir. Is my screen visible, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So going to the general examination, patient is conscious, alert, irritable, but obeys commands. Patient is moderately built, pallor present, icterus present, grade 2 clubbing present, bilateral type of pitting edema is present, cyanosis and lymphadenopathy absent. Going into the vitals, pulse is 110 BPM, regular rhythm, low volume, radioradial or radiofemoral delay is absent, and the pulse was taken on right arm in supine position. Blood pressure is 100 by 60 mmHg, right arm in supine position. Respiratory rate is 18 per minute abdominal thoracic. Temperature 100 degree Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So moving on to head to
So
toe.
before going into 1 minute, head to toe examination, anything abnormal in this general examination you found?
So yes, sir.
Yeah. What are things?
Uh,
Irritability.
Yes, sir. Firstly, irritability, then pallor present, icterus present.
Pallor present, icterus present, clubbing present, edema present. Is it not?
Yes,
so
sir.
Things are there. Yes. Then?
Sir, BP is low, pulse is high, volume is low.
Okay. So here
Temperature
you have
is high.
patient with a tachycardia. Patient has altered sensorium. Is it not? Irritability, altered sensorium, pallor present, clubbing present.
Yes, sir.
Is it not? So how do you account for all this? Can you explain all these things?
Yes, sir.
Okay, jaundice present. History-wise, already she has told.
Yes.
Edema present. Yes. What is the cause for tachycardia? You thought?
Sir, so one of the symptoms of liver diseases is that peripheral.
Tachycardia is not because he has a temperature here.
Yes, sir.
The temperature is 100, no? So that could be the reason for tachycardia.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then patient irritability and maybe he is going into hepatic encephalopathy, probably general examination wise.
Yes.
Then there is a clubbing. You get clubbing in cirrhosis?
Yes, sir.
What are the abdominal causes for cirrhosis? Sorry, clubbing. Abdominal causes for clubbing.
Sir.
Yes, IBD, IBF, somebody has put here.
Yes, primary biliary cirrhosis.
Yeah.
And so it can be carcinoma as well.
Okay. Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis.
Yes,
okay?
Sir. Yes.
They are the chronic diseases which can cause clubbing. Even cirrhosis, in a later stage, if they have a recurrent problems in the cirrhosis, they can develop cirrhosis, clubbing. Yes. And
yes.
Examination.
Yes. Should I move on, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So going to head to toe examination. Alopecia present, gynecomastia present, spider navi present, palmar erythema present, deplutrans contracture is present.
Okay. Asterix is present. 1 minute. So yes. Gynecomastia present. Okay. Yes. What is the cause for this gynecomastia?
So it's due to increase in estrogen in the body, sir.
Okay.
That happens.
So painful gynecomastia is one of the features. Alopecia present. Any changes are there? Of course, it's not mentioned, given to you. Do you want to see eye changes? What do you want to see in the eye in patient of head to toe examination of a chronic liver disease patient? Eye. Yes. Anybody else? Of course, this patient, two things you can see. One is nutritional vitamin A deficiency can be seen there. Yes. Nutritional deficiency, number one. And yes, KF rings. If you are suspecting a Wilson's disease as one of the cause for chronic liver disease, you can think of this KF ring can be seen. Then, suppose if there is a coagulation failure, you can have subconjunctival hemorrhages. Okay, you can have subconjunctival hemorrhages if there is a coagulation failure, especially some of these clotting factors production is affected because of the severe chronic liver disease. You can have a bleeding tendency. Subconjunctival hemorrhages can be seen. Of course, jaundice will be there in these patients.
Yes.
Then parotid gland.
Yes, sir. Parotid could be inflamed.
Prominent parotid is a feature of alcoholic liver disease. Yes, okay, which is not given here, but you should always look for the parotid prominence. Then,
yes, sir.
Spider neve. What is spider neve?
So, spider neve occurs basically due to arterial changes. That is again due to estrogen, sir.
Yeah.
It's like.
Diagnose them?
Sorry, sir.
How do you diagnose these spider neve?
Sir, it can be diagnosed by the appearance, sir.
How do you say? How do you differentiate spider neve from mosquito bite? Patient can have mosquito bites. Written an answer here, Chris. Central arteriole with a branches.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
it's like a
Yes.
spider. It looks
Yes,
like a
sir.
spider. So what? Either you have to take a glass slide or a pinhead, and
Yes,
then
sir.
press on the center part of
Center.
it. It blanches. That is a typical of spider neve. Usually in the superior vena cava distribution area, drainage area, it will be
Yes.
there. Usually upper chest, upper back, all those areas it can be there. Usually, spider neve you look for. Okay. So
Yes.
then palmar erythema. The palm, is it not? Okay. Then
Yes.
Dupuytren contractures. Then asterixis. What are the other causes for asterixis other than this? What is asterixis?
So asterix
Flapping
is
tremor.
basically
Flapping tremor. You
tremors
know
in the
how to
hands.
do it. Yes.
Yes.
What are the differential diagnoses for asterixis? Like other causes for asterixis?
Yes, sir.
Sir, encephalopathy, esophageal varices,
Kidney failure, sir.
Encephalopathy of what? Other than
Hepatic.
hepatic, any other causes?
Can be kidney failure, sir.
Uremic
Stroke.
encephalopathy.
Yes, sir.
Uremic encephalopathy, hepatic encephalopathy, hypoxic encephalopathy, okay, metabolic encephalopathy, septic encephalopathy, all type of whenever there is a when there is a compromise on the blood supply to the brain and the brain stem, okay, some of these whenever there is a sepsis, all these conditions they can have asterixis, all the metabolic and hypoxic conditions. Okay, of course, another one of the here it is because of the hepatic encephalopathy, right? Next slide.
Yes. So no loss of secondary sexual characters.
Okay.
So systemic examination.
Before that, any other signs did you look for? Examination. Okay, loss of this one, of course, PPKS and this one. Testicular atrophy. Testicular
Yes.
atrophy, did you look for? Not mentioned. Would you like to look for?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's
Hello. Hello. Huh? Yeah, tell.
Yes, sir. Testicular atrophy being a symptom for alcoholic liver disease. Would like to look for it, sir.
Yeah, testicular atrophy, you should look in this patient. Usually, archimetry, you're not seen that. Most of us, we are not seen. How do you measure the testicular size also? They will ask in the exam for you. So, archimetry, you suppose, have seen that in the picture at least. Testicular atrophy, the size of the testicle has to be measured.
Yes.
Archimetry, it is called. Okay. So, that you have to look for. Then, of course, clubbing, already mentioned. Then, any other nail changes? Nail changes. Actinicia, they can have nail changes in these patients. Yes. Terry nail. Yes. What is terry nail? Leukoplakia can be seen.
Yes.
The longitudinal lines will be there. These are all some of the rare changes you should look in a cirrhotic patient with portal hepatitis, hepatic encephalopathy, or signs of liver failure.
Yes.
And
so,
of course, edema, you said ascites is there. That and all we'll see later. Okay.
Yes. So brittle nails can be
examination.
Yes, systemic examination. Going on a GI system and going into the oral cavity, tonsils and posterior pharyngeal wall is normal. Bald tongue is present, chylitis present, and foul smelling breath is present.
What is it? Bald tongue.
Sorry, sir.
Bald tongue. Why?
So bald tongue is can be due to B12 deficiency, and that comes down to again liver damage. So.
Okay.
Chylitis can be due to mainly can be due to candidiasis infections or
some of the vitamin deficiencies will be there. You should look for them because most of these patients will have protein and deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies.
Yes.
So you should look for the vitamin deficiency signs in all these patients. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Angular stomatitis, bald tongue, all those things should be looked on these patients. Okay. Foul smelling may why?
Sir,
Okay,
So
they are
false
the
smelling can be
yeah,
due
false
to
smelling because of
ammonia.
these mercaptins and other things. They are all the some of the important chemicals which are produced because of this portal hypertension. So these
Yes.
are they go directly to the brain and cause irritability. So they are the one. These are all because of that smell is because of that mercaptins. Okay, then
Yes.
and then next.
Can I move on, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So going into per abdomen examination, inspection, sorry. Shape of the abdomen is uniform distension. The flanks are not full. Umbilicus is transversely stretched. On the skin, dilated and tortuous vessels on the abdominal wall are seen. There are no visible scars, discoloration, pulsation, peristalsis, or sinus. And the corresponding quadrates move equally and separately.
Okay, 1 minute. So
Yes,
what are the findings here? You saw uniformly distended abdomen.
yes, sir.
Flanks are not full. That
Yes.
means what?
So it means ascites, but
Yeah, ascites may be there, but it is
yes,
a minimum, like not very massive or
moderate or
anything.
low ascites,
Yeah.
sir.
Hello. ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನೀವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗಿ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸಿಗ್ತೀನಿ. Flanks not filled means it is not very massive or moderate. Usually mild ascites, flanks will not be filled.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If it is moderate to severe ascites only, will have flanks will be filled. Then umbilicus transversely stretched, normal or abnormal?
So abnormal, sir.
Abnormal.
It could be due to cholestasis, sir.
Normally it is transverse only, but it's not stretched. Okay.
Yes.
In
Yes.
dilated and tortuous veins in the abdominal wall, what do you want to tell about this? Comment on this.
So it can be due to portal hypertension, sir.
Yeah.
The main symptoms of portal hypertension.
Okay. Why these veins there? And when they are significant, these abdominal veins.
So,
if they are dilated, tortuous, filled veins. Okay.
Yes.
See, every one of us have veins, but if they are dilated, tortuous, and filled, then only it is significant. How do you say that they are dilated and tortuous and filled? What do you say? Always make the patient stand or sit. Okay. Don't comment on the abdominal wall veins on lying down position because they may be collapsed at that time. So if you want to comment on the abdominal veins, on the wall veins, always make the patient stand or sit, preferably stand. All these veins will fill up and then you see whether it is significant or not. Okay.
Okay.
So that is the one thing. Always examine in the standing position then. Okay. So according to you, anything else? Next slide.
Sir, no, sir. That's all for per abdomen examination.
No, next. Palpation.
Moving on to palpation. Diffuse tenderness over the abdominal wall.
What about hernial orifices? You have to add certain things. Certain things are not given for you. You have to add that. Hernial orifices. Is there any hernia is there?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that you have to add that. Okay.
Yes.
Next.
So, palpation, sir. Diffuse tenderness over the abdominal wall. Liver margins not palpable. Flow over the abdominal vein.
First, feel the abdomen. Abdominal feeling is diffuse tenderness. What is that? Is there do they have given you what type of, is it a soft, firm, or hard? How is it? Abdomen? Don't know. Okay. So feeling of the abdomen is very important in these patients. So you have to feel the abdomen. So it is soft or firm or hard. Okay. Diffuse tenderness over the abdominal wall is written. Okay. Liver margins.
Yes, liver margins not palpable.
Liver is palpable?
No, sir.
So you have to tell first.
Sorry, sir.
Whether liver is palpable or not. If not the margin, you don't tell as margin. You have to tell as a liver. Once if the liver is palpable only, your margin will be palpable. No, otherwise where is it? So first you have to tell liver is palpable or not. Okay.
No, sir.
It is not palpable here. Okay.
Yes. Liver not palpable. Liver margins not palpable. So flow over abdominal veins from the umbilicus.
Away from the umbilicus. Normal, abnormal. How do the veins drain?
Normal. It's normal.
Normal.
Yes.
If there is a portal hypertension, it may be opposite side, it may go. Okay.
Yes.
Spleen palpable below the costal margin. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Significant?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it important?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And next.
So, gallbladder palpable and normal. Lower pole of kidney palpable and normal. No other palpable masses.
Okay. So here you have a generalized diffuse tenderness of the abdomen, and
Yes.
you have a splenomegaly.
Yes, sir.
Spleen is palpable. Is it
Yes.
not?
Yes,
Okay. Then next.
So, moving on to percussion.
Yes.
So, horseshoe-shaped dullness over the abdomen can be seen. Shifting dullness is noticed. Liver dullness present at the 6th intercostal space in the midclavicular line to lower margin 3 centimeters below the costal margin. So,
What is that? Liver dullness present at the right 6th intercostal space in the mid-clavicular line. Okay.
so,
Lower margin 3 centimeters below the costal margin.
yes.
Means what? Huh? What is the liver span here?
So span is
What is the normal liver span?
so span around 10 to 15 centimeters is the
Yeah,
liver
10
span.
to 14 or 15. Here slightly
Yes.
raised. And there is
Yes.
a liver, lower margin of the liver is now you can feel at the mid-clavicular line. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
It is the upper margin, 6th intercostal space. Is it not?
Yes.
Okay. So liver is enlarged or
It's enlarged.
enlarged?
Sir. Yes.
Liver is enlarged here. Okay. What is puddle sign?
Sir, puddle sign is elicited to detect the presence of fluid in the flank. So it's only seen when there is minimal amount of fluid.
Okay. Yeah. Minimal ascites
Yes, sir.
to do this. Okay.
Yes. Puddle sign
Knee elbow
positive.
position. From the down, you focus at the middle of the abdomen and
Sir.
look for the minimal fluid. Shifting dullness, horseshoe shaped dullness over the abdomen. Why horseshoe shape?
So that's again because of ascites. Sir. Liquid in the peritoneal cavity.
Hmm.
Fluid in the peritoneal cavity results in horseshoe-shaped dullness over the abdomen.
Okay. How do you do shifting dullness? You can give a commentary. How do you do?
So shift.
Where you start? What you start?
So
Yes. How do you do shifting dullness clinically? Yes. Anybody else?
so you first the patient goes into
Put the patient in a supine position. Okay.
Yes.
Then
yes.
you start percussing from where?
So
Abdomen, across the abdomen, sir.
Yeah, from the epigastrium, you start percussing down towards the umbilicus. Okay.
Yes,
So the tympanic node, it will become dull at one stage where you said horseshoe dullness with lower near the umbilicus, somewhere it become dull. Then what you do?
then you change the position. So you go into the other side.
No. You have to change what? Position of patient or your hand?
The hand, sir.
Yeah, hand. You
Yes.
90 degree you change it and then start percussing towards the flank,
Yes.
right or left. So what you see once you start percussing? As you start percussing, come towards the right side, for example, the resonant will become dull. Is it
Yes.
not?
Yes.
What is
the
the dull?
flanks
Because
will
of the fluid.
Yes. Sir.
So then what you do next? What do you do now? Yes.
So you turn the patient.
Yeah, you turn the patient to the opposite side, wait for 1 minute or 2 minutes till
Yes.
the fluid moves to the opposite side, and then the dull note will become resonant now when you
Yes.
percuss. Same thing you do in the opposite left side also. Okay. So
Yes.
and you have to put the patient back and then again re-demonstrate the dullness, the tympanic node become dull. Okay. So this is the shifting dullness. What is fluid thrill? Yes.
So fluid thrill, the patient is made to lie on his back first. We place one hand over the lumbar region on one side, and we put pressure on the midline of the abdomen and then flick or tap at the lumbar region. So, fluid thrill is felt like a pulse on the opposite side of the on the opposite lumbar region.
Either you use the patient's hand or one more person put the hand over the center. Start one side when you give a tap. Other side the waves. It moves through the fluid and you can feel the waves in the other hand. That is a fluid. In a massive ascites, you can see the fluid thrill. Okay, next. Next slide.
Yes. Next is auscultation, sir. So hepatic bruit is present. Venous hum present.
What is the hepatic bruit?
So hepatic bruit is it's like a murmur, sir, that is heard when
which are all condition you hear hepatic bruit?
So, hypertension, portal hypertension.
Then any important? Not important. Whenever there is a AV malformations on the liver, AV malformations.
Yes.
Okay. Then when you are suspecting a malignancy,
yes.
If the hepatocellular carcinoma develops, you will have hepatic bruit. And when there is a AV malformation, you have hepatic bruit. Okay. Venous hum where?
So, over the abdomen, sir.
All sounds heard.
Yes, sir. That's normal.
No. Yes. Next.
So respiratory system. Reduced vesicular breath sounds in the infra-axillary area, and stony dull note on percussion in infra-axillary area on the left.
What does that indicate?
So on the left, it could indicate a splenomegaly, sir.
Splenomegaly causes stony dullness. What is the cause for stony dullness in respiratory system usually?
Fluid, sir. Fluid in the.
Where? Answer is here. Akshata.
Pleural effusion, sir.
Yeah, pleural effusion. Patient has a pleural effusion left side, so that's why you have a stony dull and decreased breath sounds. Okay.
Yes.
Stony dullness is a characteristic feature of pleural effusion. Okay.
Yes.
Then next.
So moving on to the CVS.
Okay. CVS. Then
S1, S2 heard, normal and all it is, no murmurs. So coming to CNS, asterisk is present, constitutional apraxia, trail marking test, the patient fails to do. Reflex, tone, and power are normal.
Okay. Then.
Coming to the diagnosis, decompensated liver failure with evidence of portal hypertension and moderate or very mild ascites.
Okay. So, do you have any other diagnosis in this patient, taking certain important findings in this patient?
So, pleural effusion, sir.
Okay. Normally, you will not have pleural effusion in a cirrhosis with ascites. Usually, what type of ascites they will have? Effusion they will have. Bilateral pleural effusion is a feature of a massive ascites and cirrhosis. They can have bilateral effusion, but here they have given you the specifically left-sided pleural effusion. That is one thing you are not able to explain. Second thing is certain other things which goes in favor of hepatocellular carcinoma. What are they in this patient? Patient may be developing hepatocellular carcinoma. Primarily may be cirrhosis of liver. Hepatic bruit. Okay.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Presence of clubbing.
Sir.
Clubbing is not a very typical in cirrhosis. Hepatic bruit, presence of clubbing, and presence of pleural effusion.
Yes, sir.
You have to think probably a patient may be having hepatocellular carcinoma, one of the rare complications of cirrhosis of liver, and develop after some time.
Yes.
So, any other history you would like to ask if you are suspecting hepatic carcinoma? History. Now go back to the patient and ask something. Weight loss, sudden weight loss. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Patient says, I have suddenly lost about 4 kgs, 5 kgs for the last 3 months, 6 months. Patient of a cirrhotic patient who always comes with ascites, abdominal distension to you. Now he comes with a cachexic look. He hasn't distension, but he has lost a lot of weight.
Yes.
Always you should suspect maybe he is gone developing a cirrhosis of he is developing hepatocellular carcinoma. So only left side pleural effusion, very difficult to explain with only cirrhosis of liver with decompensated liver. You have to think there may be some other etiology this patient. Okay. Next.
That's all.
What investigation you would like to do?
So biopsy, sir.
Biopsy directly.
So AST, ALT levels can be.
No, you tell properly, man. You tell systematically how do you investigate this patient.
So first, you start with ultrasound for the abdomen.
No, like to do a basic blood checkups. Yeah, blood tests. What are the blood investigation you would like to do?
So prothrombin time, LFTS.
Okay, first you do a basic complete blood count. Okay.
Yes.
See the hemoglobin level. Okay. Is patient whether he has anemia. Then you look for the total count, differential count. Why you want to look for total count here? You are suspecting one more diagnosis which you are not put here is subacute bacterial peritonitis. Okay, SBP. Okay, so that is the reason you have to do a total count and differential count. Then of course, blood sugar you will do basic blood sugar levels. Then you look for the renal functions. Okay, the patient is gone into hepatorenal system, blood urea, creatinine, electrolytes, all those things you do. Then you go for the liver function test. Among liver function tests, what are the important things you would like to do?
So, AST and ALT.
Okay, one is usually, is there any production of protein problem in this patient? Okay, serum proteins you look for, albumin, globulin, and AG ratio.
Yes.
And clotting factors, deficiency, is there any defect in the clotting mechanism because is a cirrhosis with portal hypertension?
Yes, prothrombin.
Yeah, prothrombin time is one of the prognostic indicator of liver disease. Very important test.
Yes.
And the liver, other basic functions like SGOT, SGPT, bilirubin and all, you will check. Okay.
Yes.
So they are some of the important tests you would like to do in this patient.
Yes.
Then ultrasound abdomen, as you said, ultrasound abdomen is also very important. Of course, it will give a lot of information for you about the ascites, about the texture of the liver. Is it a cirrhotic liver? Is there any fatty liver? Is there any hepatic changes? Or is there any malignancy? Total vein pressure, splenic size, total thrombosis, what is the total vein pressure, ascites, how much it is there. Everything can be diagnosed by ultrasound abdomen, one of the very important investigation. Then next, any other blood test you would like to do?
So alpha fetoprotein, sir, for carcinoma.
Okay, so CA markers you have to look for alpha fetoprotein. Then
NH3
ammonia levels you can check because you are suspecting decompensation with early hepatic encephalopathy. Ammonia level should be checked in these patients. Then next.
So NH3 levels can be checked.
What is that? Yes.
NH3 levels, sir.
Didn't hear.
So that's it, sir. Ammonia, sir.
Okay. Yes, ammonia. NH3 levels. Okay, right. Then next. Any other investigation you would like to do? Just X-ray you do. See how much is the effusion is there in these patients. Okay. Ultrasound also can pick up that, but chest X-ray is ideally you have to do these patients. Okay.
Yes.
Next.
Platelet count can be done.
That is comes in total count, differential count, and platelet. Usually, platelet count will be low in these patients.
Yes, sir.
Because there will be some amount of bone marrow suppression in these patients. So, the count will be low in these patients. Then.
So, serological for hepatitis B and C.
So since we discussed about the differential diagnosis, you have to look for all these things.
Yes.
Ceruloplasminin levels, Wilson's disease, serological hepatitis B, C, and all you should look for.
Yes.
Then HIV, HBs, AG, antigen, all those things you should look for in these patients.
So, ferritin, sir.
Yeah, you have to look for the hemochromatosis.
Yes, sir, ferritin.
Okay. Ceruloplasminin levels, all those things you should look for. Okay.
Yes.
Copper levels, because you are suspecting Wilson's disease. So there are also suppose the young fellow comes with all these features, even though he is alcoholic, still you have to look for all this. Then next. Any other investigation you would like to do? Okay, how do you manage this patient now? Treatment.
So we ask him to stop alcohol immediately.
Of course, that is the first thing you have to do it.
Yes.
They'll never do it. What other investigation you would like to do? Sorry, treatment options. What are the treatment options you have in these patients?
Um,
Okay, alcohol abstinence is the first thing. Then
Sir,
fluid restriction. Okay.
Yes.
Treatment always divided into general treatment and specific treatment. Fluid restrictions, because already patient is overloaded with fluid. You need not ask. You should tell him not to take too much fluids in these patients. Okay, even intravenous fluid and all should not be given. Oral fluid also not required so much. Already he is having more than 5-6 liters extra fluid in his body now.
Yes.
Okay. Then high carbohydrate, moderate protein diet. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oral carbohydrate diet can be given. High carbohydrate, moderate protein diet you have to give. And then
Sir, antibiotics for SPB, sir. Antibiotics can be started for SPB.
Carbohydrate diet, then antibiotics based, of course, you have to do as is mentioned here, somebody has written. Okay, abdominal fluid should be removed. Okay, fluid paracentesis should be done. Post for diagnostic and therapeutic. Okay, if it is a massive ascites, it can remove up to about 3 to 4 liters. The mild ascites, just for a ascitic diagnostic purpose, you have to remove the fluid and look for the SAG. Okay,
yes.
So serum albumin. Okay, ascitic fluid albumin ratio should be checked, and then look for the what type of cells are there, type of cells, cell type, cell count, and of course culture has to be done. Gram stain has to be done because you are suspecting a bacterial peritonitis in this patient.
Yes.
And then start an antibiotic for that later. Then other things what she has somebody has mentioned here, lactulose. Okay, as I was talking to you about some time back, should be given to prevent ammonia going into the cerebral circulation. Okay, to from the ammonia it will help. Disaccharide, lactulose should be given in these patients.
Yes, sir.
And
large volume paracentesis. Paracentesis, sir.
Yeah, that's what that I told you, removal of fluid.
Yes, sir.
From the ascitic fluid as much as you should remove. But one thing you should remember is you should not remove suddenly in a fast. These patients can go into hepatic encephalopathy. Fast removal of fluid should be slowly removed, and always it should be replaced with a IV albumin. Okay, whenever you remove the fluid from the abdomen, paracentesis, about more than 1 liter when you are removing it, always replace with IV albumin. Albumin is available, 100 ml, 20% albumin is available now. IV should be replaced whenever you remove the fluid as much as possible. You can remove up to 4 liters at a time, but should be replaced with 1 or 2 albumin infusions. Okay, the fluid and analysis should be done. And then diuretics, role of diuretics. You give diuretics in these patients.
Yes, a high dose diuretic treatment can be used. Spironolactone can be used.
You have to use spironolactone, not other loop diuretics. Spironolactone can be used in this, should be used in these patients. Depends on if there is no contraindication. If there is no renal failure, if the creatinine is normal, or if there is a high potassium, you cannot give this spironolactone because that can cause a potassium sparing diuretic.
Yes.
So if the potassium levels are normal, renal functions are normal, then you can use spironolactone. You can go up to 400 milligram, to 200 to 250, 400 milligram. You can go slowly. Loop diuretics can be given, depends on the position of the patient, because these loop diuretics, you give furosemide and all, can precipitate hepatic encephalopathy. You have to be careful when you are giving these loop diuretics. What are the precipitating causes for hepatic encephalopathy? Precipitating causes for hepatic encephalopathy.
Alcohol.
Okay, alcohol.
Yes, sir.
Oral, protein. Okay, high animal proteins.
Yes.
Okay, oral animal protein. I was just telling you other some time back. Oral animal proteins should be avoided. Diuretics. Okay.
Yes.
And benzodiazepines, sedatives should be avoided because they can cause hepatic encephalopathy. Okay, oral protein, animal protein, diuretics, and benzodiazepines or sedatives, oral sedatives should be avoided.
Yes.
And then removal of fluid,
Dehydration.
sudden removal of excessive
Yes.
fluid can precipitate hepatic encephalopathy.
Yes.
Okay, have to be careful. And excessive bleeding, suppose patient develops some bleed, massive bleeding, hematemesis, melena can precipitate hepatic encephalopathy because this ammonia is there in the intestine, so that's why hepatic encephalopathy can be developed in these patients. Then
Yes. Hypoxia, sir.
hypoxia.
Hypoxia.
Won't cause hepatic encephalopathy.
Yes.
Next,
Immunosuppressants.
drugs
Yes, sir. Immunosuppressants.
can cause, yes,
Yes.
they can cause.
Hypoglycemia, sir.
Hypoglycemia, low sugar. Of course, hypoglycemia can cause hypoglycemic coma only. They can precipitate. You have to give high carbohydrate in these patients. That's why usually these patients are more prone to develop hypoglycemia. And then you give 25% dextrose to these patients who are hepatic encephalopathy always. Okay, so these are some of the complication you should answer. Of course, there is upper GA bleed, hematemesis, all those things are some of the complications of hepatic cirrhosis of liver and portal hypertension. You have to be careful. So what are the other things you do? And any other tests you do in these patients? Invasive investigations. Gastroscopy. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All patients with cirrhosis, portal hypertension should undergo gastroscopy. First one, and after that every year. Why you want to do this gastroscopy? Endoscope, gastroscope. What you want to do? Huh?
Not sure, sir. Strictures, sir.
Huh? Esophageal varices. Okay. Because of portal hypertension, patient will have esophageal varices. No, so they look for the esophageal varices, what grade it is there. You anticipate hematemesis. You anticipate rupture of this. Because of portal hypertension, pressure will be more in these esophageal varices veins.
Yes.
So what happens? The esophageal varices is nothing but because of portal hypertension. So these, they may bleed suddenly and cause catastrophic hematemesis. Patient may die spontaneously, suddenly. So what you do, you always anticipate varices in these patients, do the scopy and do the sclerotherapy or banding. Okay. Either banding or sclerotherapy should be done in these patients. So prophylactically, you should do endoscopy in these patients and see is there any esophageal varices are there, whether you need to be banned. Doing the banding of these. Banding means they will just put a band onto these esophageal varices veins and so that they will not bleed further anytime. Okay. So this should be done repeatedly after every 6 months, ideally should be done these endoscopies, or at least once in a year should be done these patients. Prevents catastrophes in future. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right. Then any other definite treatment for the cirrhosis of liver? What is the definite treatment?
So if nothing works out, liver
Yeah.
transplantation, sir.
Yeah, nothing works out. That is the only treatment option.
Transplant, sir.
Hepatic transplant, liver transplantation is the only option for these patients of cirrhosis of liver. Otherwise, it's all symptomatic and it's conservative management for all these patients. Okay?
Yes.
Right. That is enough for today. Thank you.